Hello, this is Miss Howell, and I would like to talk to you about preparing for the Buckeye Christian Schools Organization Fine Arts Competition. Here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to introduce myself for those who may not know me or my family as well. I'd like to talk about the different categories you see listed here on the screen, and then I'd like to leave you with some concluding thoughts. By way of introduction, I'm Miss Howell, and I had two older sisters and a younger brother, and we just finished 16 years participating in the fine arts competition. And we did a lot of different categories, and I'd like to talk to you about a few of those and some things that worked well for us, and if they help you, so much the better. When it comes to Bible memory, this is one of the most practical um, categories that you'll have, because these verses you can take with you for the rest of your life and have them on the ready. And so when you go to prepare, I would advise putting the verses on cards. I know my dad worked on a spreadsheet. I'm hoping to put those in the comments box below, and hopefully you'll be able to access those. And so this as a picture I took myself, and this is my stack of cards from all the years I participated. Each color is a different year and a different set of verses, and I would advise doing that if you do this multiple years, just to help you keep everything straight. When you memorize, you could either go from the verses you already know to the verses you don't already know, or you could go from Roman numeral 1, letter A, and work your way through the outline till the end. And so this is the first card. I believe it's the Salvation series. And so when you practice and after you've memorized them, have somebody hold your cards, put a blocker between you and them so that you don't see the cards, and then have them give you the reference, and then you give the verse back. When you get to the second round, and I would advise practicing for it, have them give you the caption, which is Roman numeral 1, letter A soul is worth more than the entire world, and that's for this specific card. And then you would give the reference, Matthew 16:26, and quote the verse. And I would also advise writing them out, because if it does go to a written test, you need to be able to write out the verse, the reference, and you also need to be able to do the capitalization and punctuation. So I would go ahead and practice that. Speeches are the next thing we'd like to talk about, or that I'd like to talk about. And when you go to prepare a speech, I would suggest choosing a speech that has a climax toward the very end of the speech, but something you can build up to throughout the speech. A lot of those speeches worked fairly well for our family. I would also advise using the dramatic V and have specific points where each character looks. And with that, you can give them a certain gesture that is unique to that character to help your listeners know who's talking when, because sometimes the dialogue switches directly from one character to the next, and your listeners and watchers need to be able to see that change. When you go to practice, I do advise standing up. That will help you to prepare your brain for being able to think on your feet during the moment of competition. And also when you practice, you can practice giving your characters different voices and looking up if it's a child speaking to an adult, or looking down if it's an adult to a child, and I think that will help you out with that as well. And let's see what my PowerPoint's doing, because it looks like we got it. So the next category is spelling. Each of the different colors you see here in the picture represents words from different origins that are all spoken in English. And when you prepare, I do advise having the words by origin on cards, because that will help you be able to keep better track of the ones you already know versus the ones you don't know. And when you memorize them, you can practice say while saying. You could practice writing them out, because when you write it out, it does help your brain. to be able to process. And when you practice, I would practice once you've finished memorizing them, or if you've memorized the ones from a certain origin, give the list or the cards, whatever you have, to someone else. Have them put up a blocker between you and them, and have them say the word. You could practice asking for the definition. You could practice asking for it to be used in a sentence, because you can do that in the spelling bee. And then say the word. And if you miss it, have them set it aside so that they can go back. And the ones that are correct, you can put away so that you're not reviewing the same ones over and over again. When it comes to National Bible quizzing, there are a lot of things you can do. One of the things we listened to was Alexander Scourby read through the books, and the more you're familiar with the National Bible quizzing books, the better you'll be able to answer questions about it. So you could also write questions, go through the verses, and be like, okay, if there were to be a question on this verse, how would it be worded? What would the answer be? And go ahead and do that for all of the verses. Um, and I think that will help you out a lot. You can also read through the books, and I strongly recommend that, because the more you read it, the more familiar you'll be with it, and the better you'll be able to do. If you are very serious about this, I would also memorize the books. There are some questions in the quizzes that are quote this verse. And if you ever wanted to go to AACS competition, you do need to have the books memorized. And then also practice jumping. That will help you get prepared for the competition, and it will help you to be ready to jump. And as soon as you think you know the answer, go ahead and jump. And if you get the answer wrong, come back to that question a little bit later so that you are prepared. With Bible testing, again, it's a lot like National Bible quizzing. Obviously, you're not jumping, but you can listen to Alexander Scourby. You can also read through the books, and you can also memorize. Especially if you're thinking about going to AACS competition, I do recommend memorizing all of the books, um, because that will help you out a lot. When it comes to testing, I would recommend studying the material before taking the test. And that would mean if you're taking a world history test, look through a world history book. If you're taking a chemistry test, look through a chemistry book just to refresh your mind. If you haven't had those classes, obviously do that, because that will help you know what you're supposed to be doing when you're answering the questions. When it comes to music, performed music is like the sacred keyboard solo, the classical keyboard solo. This is to see how well you can perform someone else's music. Um, so if you're doing a romantic piece, the judges are looking for how well do you portray the romantic characteristics. If you're looking for one of the classical, because that is its own time frame, they're looking for the classical parts of what made classical music classical. Composed music is your opportunity to show off your own talent. And you can do that by making your own piece. You do record it, and that's your time to show your talent. With home ec, the patterns can be either from online sources, or you can make up your own. And so that is how that works. I would also recommend, if there's someone, particularly for the sewing categories, if there's someone who can coach you through it, and this is your own work, you do have to do all the work your own self, but if you do have someone looking over your shoulder, um, giving you some tips that you can do yourself, I would also recommend that, because that would help you out a lot. So in conclusion, work hard. Competition is a lot of fun. It does require a lot of work, but it is a very unique opportunity, and Ohio gives you a lot of opportunity that some other states don't always have. And have fun. I know it's a lot of stress. We've been there, we've done that. But it really is fun when you pour your effort into it and you can see the reward from that. And this also helps you prepare for just later on in college. Do as much as you can, but find your limit and stick with that limit, because if you overload yourself, then you won't enjoy it. And this is a good preparation for college because you'll be able to figure out, okay, what am I good at? And it gets you ready for things like speech class in college when you get up in front of your peers and you have to perform. So I would recommend getting involved. And then for art, you'll have to check out YouTube. The only one who really did extremely well was my brother in art, and so you'll have to check out YouTube. That's what he did, and he found that it worked well. Thank you for watching the video. Bye.